What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I've got some more vintage Mac content for y'all. So, as you guys may already know if you've seen the video, this is my Macintosh SE, and longtime viewers of the channel will know that I've had this thing for quite a long time. I found this in the dump about 11 years ago now, and recently, with the help of my friend Chris, or rather the encouragement from him, I decided to start having some fun with it. And so, as you can see here from the last video, we have the MacFX frosted clear case that also glows in the dark. This is actually a limited edition custom case from MacFX, so I'm pretty happy with that. I really like the aesthetic of that. And then we also ended up putting a blue SCSI in it to replace the hard drive, just for reliability and performance sake mostly. And it also has the clear speaker from MacFX just to match the case here. But one thing I had always wanted to do to this machine, after I started modding it, that is pick up an SE30 motherboard for it, because the SE30, for those who don't know, is the model of Mac that came right after the SE, and essentially it is identical to the SE, but it has the internals of other more powerful Macs of the time, such as the Macintosh 2. So it has the Motorola 68030 instead of the 68000, and it is a huge performance increase, and it also supports quite a bit more memory and such, so that's pretty cool. And would you look at that? Right here, as you can see, we have an SE30 motherboard. Now, I actually got this from my good friend Colin, aka DOSDude1. A lot of you vintage Mac guys will know who he is, because he's kind of famous in the vintage Mac community, but he sold me this board, and that was very kind of him to do, and it is completely fully working. And before you guys flip out, yes, it has been recapped, so we have new Nichicon capacitors all over the board. So it's he told me actually that it was recapped and then ultrasonic cleaned twice, so it's in good shape. Don't worry, you guys. For those that don't know, the SE30 is known for, you know, faulty capacitors that like to leak out and destroy the machines. So anyways, this one has been saved, so don't worry. There is one bodge wire that you might notice right here, and I think, according to Colin, that was because one of the video lines was a little bit knackered, so he actually ran a bodge wire from one of the terminals on the front of the board all the way around the back to where it needs to go. I am not a motherboard guy. I'm really kind of stupid when it comes to low-level electronics stuff, but all you need to know is that it's fully working now, so that's cool. And as you can see right here, we have the ROM sim. Now, this is not a factory ROM sim, obviously. You can see it's bright red, and that is because it is actually the Big Mess of Wires Rominator 2 Macintosh sim. So this is compatible with the SE30 and other Macintoshes of the time, such as the Macintosh 2. And essentially what this does is it offers a whole host of upgrades over the factory ROM sim, which, if I go ahead and pull it over here, you can see here, this is the factory ROM sim that comes with the SE30. Namely, this allows you to support newer operating systems and an expanded memory limit, because it is a 32-bit clean ROM, unlike the ROM that comes with the SE30. And so, really, the SE30 is capable of supporting up to 128 megabytes of RAM. So that's pretty nice to get natively with this ROM card. Now, it also has a built-in RAM disk that you can boot from, which is pretty cool. And so you don't even need a hard drive. You can actually just boot right from the RAM disk. Now, it's not very large, but you know, for booting Macs, it's very nice in a pinch. And I believe it also skips the extended memory test and a bunch of other little things, just to make this a much nicer experience. So it's kind of a way to supercharge these old Macs. With that said, we go ahead and flip it back around front carefully. You can see we have a bunch of memory here. Now, this is 16 megabytes total, I believe. Or no, sorry, this is 32 megabytes, actually. The RAM that came with this board that Colin sent me, it only had 5 megabytes, which, you know, wasn't going to be enough. I actually purchased these chips a long time ago before I even located an SE30 board. But we have 32 megs of RAM here, and that will, you know, obviously be quite enough for me. These support up to 128, but that is an exorbitant amount of memory for one of these, so I decided on 32. Now, of course, the SE board that's in there only has 4 megabytes, and that was the limit on the SE. And this thing has a lot of old games and other software on it, and 4 megabytes really is not enough under System 7. I really can't run more than one application at once, or else I have to start quitting things, or else it runs out of memory, rather. So 32 megabytes will be really, really nice. Now, all I should have to do is just pop this board in there. Chris did let me know that some of the SEs you have to make small modifications to the chassis, and so if I end up having to do that, this video is going to be postponed a little bit, but we'll see really quickly. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and tip this SE on its face, and we will take the case off and try to put this board in there. Alright guys, so here we are with the case removed. Now, normally when you're working on any CRT equipped computer, you would want to discharge the CRT before you begin any work. However, this computer has been sitting in my room for weeks unplugged, so I'm not too worried about that. And also we're just going to be working down here anyways. So really, this is going to be an easy swap. All we have to do is unplug the floppy and the hard drive connectors, and I believe the speaker connector once we pull the board out, and we'll be ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and start by doing that. So firstly, I'm going to go for the floppy drive connector, which is unplugged here, and then I'm also going to be unplugging the hard drive. So there's that, and then there is a power cable we have to get at as well. So I'm going to attempt to do that now. Of course, we can always do it when we slide the board out, but see if I can get it. Alright, there we go. I got it out. So now I'll flip it back around this way like we said, and then there are some tabs over here that we're going to line up. So again, pull the board out until it lines up with those tabs, and then it should hinge right out carefully, like so. And then before we forget, there is a speaker connector here that we're going to unplug. And that's it. The board is out. So as you can see, here is our SE board. Before we continue here, let's just take a quick look at the boards side by side. As you can see, here is the SE board. Different layout, of course, because this is a 68,000 based computer. But, you know, most notably, we only have 4 memory slots here rather than 8 on the SE. And then, of course, we have the 68,000 here versus the 68030 over here. And they're fairly similar otherwise, of course. But, yeah, just wanted to get that side-by-side shot for you guys because you probably won't see that too often. So, without further ado, let's get back to putting the board in the Mac. Alright, so here's what we, I guess, could call the moment of truth, because as I alluded to earlier, sometimes on some early SE models you do have to make a small modification to the chassis to put the board in, but I'm hoping we won't have to do that. But anyway, let's go ahead and try and slot this board in like so, and then we'll go over here, see if we can finagle her in there. It looks like it's going to work. Yep, there we go. Alright. Go ahead and slide the board down just like that. And she's in. That's it. So, we'll go ahead and spin her around like this. Go ahead and plug that power connector back in, which is kind of a pain, but that should be good to go. And then we'll put our floppy and our hard drive connectors back. And then our SCSI right here. I apologize if I'm going a bit slow, but I like to be really delicate with these very vintage electronics because they're older than me, so. And that's it. It's really that simple. So we just had to plug in, well, 4 connectors, I guess. But she's in there, and this thing is now officially in Macintosh SE30. Now, I'm going to take the risky move of putting the case back on before we fire it up, because I like to live life on the edge. So let's go ahead and get her back on the desk and see what happens. Alright guys, here goes nothing. Let's see what happens. That's a good sign. We got a chime. There it is. Go and zoom in. the video looks good, and there it is. As you can see, the ROM disk is loading. It gives you an option to boot from the RAM disk, which I'm going to ignore. The system file on this startup disk may be damaged. Huh. Well, it looks like we're going to have to open it up again to fix that, but in the meantime, we can boot from the RAM disk because I know that'll work. Or I guess the ROM disk in this case, but that'll be okay. That'll allow me to show you guys at least that it works, which as you can see it does. So there we have the ROM disk that we're booted from, which is nice. I'm not sure exactly what... Okay, it is 7.1, nice. But as you can see, she is working well. As you can see, we have a Macintosh SE30. We are on system 7.1 with 32 megabytes of RAM. So everything works, and I'm pretty happy to report that this upgrade was successful. Now I will, again, like I said, have to open it up and probably see what's going on with my normal boot disk and figure out why it's not booting. But for now, that is pretty cool. And I believe even booted from this RAM disk, or this ROM disk rather, I can access my normal hard drive and run applications off of it. So that will actually do okay for now. So there you go, guys. My SE is now an SE30, and the upgrade and whatnot was very successful. So I'm pretty happy about that. And there it is. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.